So most people think that plants, they eat dirt.
Yeah.
Plants don't eat dirt any more than you and I eat dirt. So like if you would like play Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we would shrink down to such a small, specimen. It's absolutely, and Paul checks this too, and his thing is absolute chaos in the soil. There are thousands of these microorganisms killing each other down there. They're mating, they're doing all this stuff. It's like porn and Rambo all in one, right? And it's funny because a lot of people they don't eat meat because they want to be spiritual or they don't want to harm animals, but they don't realize that plants are being fed by microorganisms, and it's shown through very hardcore research that plants are very carnivorous. So if you're a vegetarian, you're just eating little animals that are fed to you in a liquid form. So, there's no such thing as really going strict vegetarian. We either use small animals with microorganisms, or you eat big animals. So probably a couple of vegetarians out there that are going to watch this are not going to like what I had to say there. But
vegetarians, take that, because you making a brother feel bad about having a piece of chicken, man. You know what, man? Shit, I like chicken.
But, yeah.
Poof pow. Kung Pao chicken, because I'm freaking hungry. Actually, I keep hearing about this Kung Pao chicken. I have yet to know what's in that.
I have no idea. I was about to ask you what the hell is it?
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to do an episode on that. I like what is Kung Pao chicken?
Yeah, be the shortest episode ever.
It'll be the shortest episode ever. Well, if we have it, we'll show how does Kung Pao chicken help with our diet. So listen, it's a spicy stir-fried Chinese dish made with cubes of chicken, peanuts, veggies, chili peppers, and Szechuan peppercorns.
All right.
Peppercorns. Listen, do they grow peppercorns in the dirt?
Is that where they come from? Yeah, I would assume.
That's some stuff. There's a lot of stuff that comes up from the dirt.
There is. We should do an episode on that.
You know what? Why don't we do one now? All right, welcome. Well, bless up, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. You know who this is. This is Brian and Paul. And if you fail to know who we are, and you just saw the thumbnail and you're like, oh, this looks interesting, welcome. My name is Paul Newell. This is Brian Rankin. I said it right this time, didn't I?
Said it right.
What? Bruh! Yo, for people just
for like 6 years, you finally said it right.
Listen, it's been 5.5, man. Give me time, bruv. Give me my time. So listen, people, welcome. This is More Than Black or White Health Podcast. We are two health professionals with the intention of supporting you in your specific health and wellness journey, whether that includes doctors or whatever, any type of person that you have in your court, in your health court. Like Brian and I are here to provide you with other insights, other tips, other tools that are going to help you to either take control of your own health or to complement what you're doing with your health professionals. So with that in mind, first of all, I didn't even talk. B, how you doing today, bro?
Doing good, man. It's 7:30. I'm ready to slowly falling asleep here. But we do this for you guys out there, and I know you're an early riser too, so we get a lot of stuff done before we go to work. So it's all good, man. First world problems. I'm ready to dive into this. I'm really ready to get into the nitty gritty of the dirt.
The nitty gritty of the dirt. Well, every time I think of dirt, I start moving like, oh yeah, get me excited, brother. So listen. I got to tell you, man, like, and for people that are tuning in, you most likely have heard how Brian and I, we have our pregame, like we have our time at least once a month where we get together, we talk topics. And this topic came up and I was like, yo, soil, this is pretty interesting. And I know when Brian brings something up, I'm like, oh, there's something here, even though I'm like, yo, soil, bro. But I'm like, when he brought it up, I said, damn, this is important, especially when we were just talking in the pregame. This is some serious shit. So if you're on the health and wellness path, you're very particular about what you eat, or you have yet to be particular about what you eat, this is a great episode for you to watch. So while you're watching, like, share, subscribe, like first, and then subscribe, because you're going to want to hear more of the episodes we have coming. So B, dude, soil is big, man. Soil is all over. Our veggies grow in soil. We walk on soil. Trees grow from soil. A lot of things come up from soil, man. So I'm curious for you, like, what was it about this topic that you're like, I think it's necessary that we talk about this? Because you're pretty passionate about this.
Yeah. I mean, I love nutrition. I love talking about nutrition. I love learning about nutrition. Yeah. And again, I'm bringing up my my male crush, Paul Check. I took a course with him.
Yeah, we're gonna get him on the show.
A bunch of courses with him, or a few courses with him, I should say, back in the day. And he's like, I remember him saying one time, he's like, if you don't understand soil, you'll never understand nutrition. And I was like, really? I'm like, all right. And he has a good YouTube series out there. It's called The Dirt Facts. It's a 10 episodes. Each one's about 10 minutes. I highly recommend you guys kind of dig in there and learn it. A lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to regurgitate a lot of stuff that he said. So, big props to him, man. The guy's awesome. And he's very entertaining. You'll be like, I'm not going to watch 10 episodes of Dirt. You'll be laughing and you'll be like, holy shit. And these episodes were probably aired about 15, 16 years ago. And he was way ahead of our time. People now still don't even understand how soil has an impact on our nutrition 15 years later. They're clueless. And one of the reasons they're clueless because no major university teaches nutrition when you become a dietitian or an RD or a nutritionist or whatever it is. They never get into the soil. They don't understand, or they don't make that connection. Like, you need healthy soil to have healthy plants, to have healthy animals, to have healthy humans. As he says, you can't make, chicken soup out of chicken shit. We talked about this before.
That would suck. That would suck.
The soil shit, how healthy do you think the plant's going to be? It's not. How healthy do you think the animal's going to be that eats the plant? It's not. And this is where we are in this day and age, where like diseases are rampant. We'll get a little bit more into it, but got to understand soil. That's how I got into it. Once I did, I understand that organic is where it's at. Even though I know the word organic is a little bastardized these days, just because something says organic does not necessarily mean it's organic, but it's better than eating some kind of commercially raised or some kind of lab grown food.
Yeah. Well, dude, so can we get into that for a quick moment, man?
Yeah,
because, and I'm sure we're going to dive into this more because, I know we're going to talk about the health impacts and diseases, but I think it's very interesting, man, because, when I was doing the juices, and I was very particular about getting organic produce.
Good.
And it got to the point where, I don't know. I was going to supermarkets, out like Whole Foods. I was getting organic stuff at Costco, mm-hmm. But then when I was going to the farmers markets, I was like, this just looks different.
Yeah.
Right. And they were like talking about organic, and it was like, and I think we had when we were talking with the ladies from We Call Bullshit, we were talking mm-hmm. about something we said about soil. And like, she I think Marie was saying, like, all the carrots look the same. They all looked it. But when I go to the farmer's market, or like, I went to a couple farms and I saw the produce, like all those beets didn't look the same. No. Some of them look freaking dastardly, if that's even the proper word. But I'm just like, look, I could still juice the hell out of them. It was a delicious mm-hmm. product. I'm bringing this up because, like, when I was experiencing that, I found myself experiencing skepticism about what is organically grown versus the regular grown. So, before we get into the diseases and things like this, but like, what is it about organic? Is it a certified organic? Like, are you familiar with how they can certify that a soil is now organic?
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but you have to have organic farming practices. I want to say up to 3 to 5 years. Then they go out and test it. So the
Okay.
problem is too, is like you can't have like, so a lot of these like big corporations, they have like a section where it's like organic. Then they have another
Yeah.
section which is non-organic. But the
Right.
reality is they don't go out there and spray each crop precisely. They have these like
Right.
these planes that kind of go over the top and they drop all this chemicals. And I don't care what you say, some of that chemical residue, some of that fertilizer is going to blow over onto the organic crops. But
Right.
because they're, yeah, but because the majority of the food industries or nutritional industries is controlled by big pharma, they kind of look the other way in these big corporations. So getting something organic from Nestle's is I'd rather eat something non-conventional somewhere else, you know. So like you got to like be a little smart with that. They get lazy with their practices, you know.
Yeah.
So just be careful. But getting to the point of your question, or to answer your question, is you have to have the soil has to go under a lot of like scrutiny throughout the years, and they test the soil to make sure it has certain levels and everything like that. Again, I don't know the levels off the top of my head, but at least I think it's like 3 to 5 years you have to have like clean soil. Then you can label something organic. But going through the process is super expensive. That's why it's like going to farmers markets, they can't afford it. You know, so they're kind of like, you know, all these big corporations are kind of pushing them out. So when you go to a farmer's market, 99 out of 100 times it's going to be organic. They just don't have the money to start putting USDA stickers on it. You know,
that's what I was hoping you would say, my guy. That's what I was hoping you would say. Listen, so now that we talked about that, because this was part of my skepticism about this shit. Because I'm like, I don't understand. Like, first of all, if this is organic, how is this lasting so long? First of all, okay, because I noticed that with my produce, if I didn't use that shit within 2 days, bro, it's wrap. I'm like, damn. That's why I had to always buy it fresh. But I noticed that when I started going to farms and noticing their practices and drilling them, like I even noticed how they treated the soil. I'm like, this is organic to me, bro. So I want to, before I get all freaking heated, let's talk, because that shit gets me pissed. Because it's like, dude, just because I could shell out some money, most likely they don't give a shit about my practices. They're like, yo, did you get? Oh, let me check my account. Oh, yo, I got that money. Here you go. Here's your sticker. Have a nice day.
Pretty
all
much,
right, and now it's fucked up, man. And now all of a sudden, people are like, I'm eating healthy, but you're still eating like shit.
Yeah.
So, dude, and we talk about this, and and people that watch the podcast know I'm a big fan of Wendy's, and I know they don't grow shit organic. So anyway, let's talk about
the grass-fed cows.
Grass-fed cows and grass-fed fries. All that shit, man. And grass-fed ginger ale and Sprites, all that stuff. So let's get to, like, we got a lot of diseases that are going out there right now, that are happening right now. Okay. Lots of freaking diseases. And you and I have talked about this on many occasions about the impact of what we eat. So I'm going to turn this over to you, man. If you could share, first share like some of the insights, because you put some stats in your notes that I was like, yo, this is alarming right now. So can you talk a little bit about the diseases and like where we are as far as like nutrition and diseases, that relationship?
Sure. I mean, you go back in year 1900, the risk of cancer was 30 to 1. 1980 was 5 to 1. 1990 was 4 to 1. 95 was about 3 to 1. I think that's around when glyphosate started coming out. Could have been a little later too, which we have 2 episodes on that. And basically, like, we're at a point right now where it's like every two people, one has cancer or was going to develop cancer. I understand we all have cancer cells in, but actually full-blown cancer. So if you have a room full of 100 people, 50 you guys are going to have cancer. And we have like the most complex medical system in the world. Doctors, therapists, nutritionists, RDs, chiropractors, other medical and exercise people per capita in the world. But we are a shit show. The U.S. has the highest healthcare expenditure, one of the lowest life expectancies, one of the highest infant mortality rates, maternal mortality. lowest in healthcare access and coverage, preventable diseases like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and we're one of the highest in mental health issues. So we spend trillions of dollars every year on cancer, and what do we have? We have more sick people and more drugs than we know what to do, and there's no cure for anything. I think I mentioned this stat, we've, since drugs have been around, there's been 0 drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, that actually have cured any kind of chronic disease. And a lot of people going back to that, like chemo and radiation is only about 4% of effective, but they don't tell you that because it's a big money maker. People that go through chemo can spend up to tens of thousands of dollars every month, but it's just a huge money maker. And so it's crazy. And it's like another thing that I was thinking about the other day. So Dr. Google, according to him, like we spent
Dr. Google,
our well-trusted Dr. Google, we spent $4.7 trillion last year. And I was like,
wait, how much?
$4.7 trillion last year in healthcare, in medical, in healthcare, right? And I was like, holy shit. So I did a little more research. I'm like, 815 million people in this world are starving right now. And it would cost approximately $250 billion to actually stop world hunger, according to some research that I did, give or take. So that means basically out of that $4.7 trillion we use that has no really effect on health whatsoever, if we give 1/20th of that away to the world, we would actually stop world hunger. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing? But there's no money in that. There's no money in fixing people that are starving in other countries. So that got me a little heated. I'm like, man, it's such bullshit. So it's like we really need to take control of our health. And kind of getting back to like organic, people who eat, and this has been studies around, these are proven studies, people who eat predominantly organic foods has significantly lower, they're called organophosphorus pesticides in their body, which is basically a nervous system and endocrine disruptor than those who actually are on a conventional diet. So most people tested have high levels of pesticides in their urine. If you eat organic, your exposure levels are way below the EPA's Environmental Protection Agency's safe levels than people who actually eat conventional. They're way above this level. So like herbicides, pesticides, rodenticides, fungicides, they're extremely dangerous in the body, regardless of what the government says, what the manufacturers say, what our medical systems say. Most of these chemicals out there are to control pests in nature. That's why we use fertilizers, to control the pests in nature so animals don't eat the crops. And amongst other things. And there's 2 types of these chemicals. There's neurotoxic and estrogenic. The neurotoxic chemicals, meaning it attacks the nervous system of the creatures that come in contact with it. It fucks them up like mentally. And estrogenic, meaning they when the creatures eat these pesticides, their estrogen levels go through the roof at such a high level that they can't reproduce.
They can't reproduce. Yeah.
So what happens? And it's like, what happens when we eat this stuff? You think it just ignores us? You don't think it messes with our neurology? You don't think it messes with our estrogen levels? I mean, we've talked about this in past episodes. Why men these days have, like half the testosterone was a 67-year-old man did 20 years ago, and it's only getting worse. Infertility issues are going through the roof. So,
people don't look at they don't look at the relationship between the two.
No, they don't eat they do not look at the relationship. And most people think it's safe to eat these in small dosages, but it's such a disaster. I would say stay away from this with everything you got. If you're trying to, especially if you start having neurological issues, like you're forgetting things. We actually did an episode on this too, how Alzheimer's is, slowly increasing, dementia is starting at an earlier age. Without a doubt, I don't need to be a doctor. I don't need a placebo or anything like that to know that fertilizer foods is one of the reasons we're in this state right now. And you can push so many drugs on the people. You can put them through chemo. You can do all this stuff. You're never going to get to the etiology of the problem unless you fix what you actually are putting in your mouth and understanding what you're putting in your mouth. I understand organics, it's more expensive. But if you had the means, you're gonna spend a little more now, and you're gonna save yourself a hellish life later on. Going through doctors, doing all this stuff, quality of life is going to go down. I was reading something the other day, like an average person, they spend about, I think, 80% of their life earnings trying to keep themselves alive the last like 3 or 4 days. So it's like you're just trying to save money, and it's all going to go out the window for most people later on. So it's and research also shows it's clear that the immune system, what happens is when you put that stuff in your system at such a micro dose with the fertilizers, their immune system can't recognize it. So these toxic chemicals, they still affect the body, and it damage your genetics and other things too. So if your immune system can't recognize these fertilizers that are coming in at small levels, what happens is your immune system can't attack it to flush it out. It just kind of bypasses it,
and then it becomes used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So
this is a funky thing, man, because there's the concept of, well, organic is too expensive. I used to get that all the time, like, oh man, your juices are expensive, like. And at the time I was like, well, let me make it less money. And then I was like, wait a second, man. Like I'm using organic juices, bro. This is no joke, man. What? But the thing, I remember getting into these discussions, people were like, well, you could just why don't you use regular? Or why don't you use like plastic bottles? And I'm like, no. Thank you. And no, I'm not. Like, that's not why I do this, man. Like, this is to uplift the people that are drinking this, because I think people fail to recognize, and Brian and I were talking about this in the pregame, when I was towards the end of the juice business, when I started really going out to farms and noticing how they did things, I noticed that, like, man, that there's a way that they really nourished and fertile, like just nourished. I'm going to say nourished the soil, nourished the environment. And Brian, you brought up something so impactful, and it's something that stuck with me and continues to stick with me, is that, like, the soil is the environment of the foods, most of the foods that we're eating. So think about how much stuff is growing from the soil. And I think it's very fascinating that, people disregard the importance of the soil that something's grown in. And they disregard it because they're like, oh, listen, man, it's a $2, it's a $3 difference. Like, I was just at Costco. They had strawberries for, it was what, $5.99. Then they had the organic strawberries over here for like not $8.99.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, get the strawberries for organic strawberries. I actually got blueberries though. Let me get the organic blueberries. Is it more money? Yes. And am I worth that? Yes. Because listen, here's the thing, and B, I want us to talk about this. The soil that we're eating from, because they're putting all these things like fertilizers, glyphosate we talked about, and people are like, well, they have these certain sections at the farms where one section is organic. Mother hoo-ha, are you that ignorant to think that, what is there some magic wall like in fucking Wakanda where all of a sudden the fertilizer doesn't go past this wall?
Yeah.
All the particles don't get affected here. Stop the foolishness, man. Stop the foolishness. The soil is extremely important, because even nourishing, how we nourish, and B, I'm curious, man, just like, let's talk about the soil, because there's certain nutrients, like when I started researching, there's certain nutrients and certain compounds that that soil has to have. So, like, talk to me about, like, when you were doing research, like, what's so important about the soil and nurturing, or like the importance of it, man.
Yeah, I mean, God, we can go. So, like for example, like how the soil works. It's called the
Yeah.
skin of the earth, and what soil does, it purifies our water. It helps with climate change. Is less like climate change is actually less likely to affect the world if our soil is healthy.
Mm.
So, 25% of the annual emissions from fossil fuels are removed by soil. It can take up to thousands of years to form 1 centimeter of soil. And this helps with, again, our Earth's temperature. So humanity right now is experiencing an extinction of soil. Nearly half the world's topsoil has vanished in the last 150 years as a result of like extensive plowing, overuse of fertilizers, pesticides, and other chemicals.
So
So,
wait, wait, wait. So the soil, so the
mhm.
nature of the soil is transmuting into something else. Is that what I'm hearing? Like
Yeah,
you
well,
said,
we're
the
losing.
topsoil is vanishing, losing it.
Yeah, we're losing something called humus. And humus is basically like I was going to get into that. It's almost like it's really flaky, so it's really fluffy soil. So it's almost
Okay.
like there's a bunch of other things in there which I'll get into, but it's almost like think of it like you take a graham crack in your hand and you crush it up.
Yeah.
It becomes very aerated.
Yes.
So when that
Yes.
happens, you actually increases like what they call like aerobic metabolism through the body. It feeds oxygen to the rest of the soil. The soil we have right now, as the humus starts depleting and depleting even more, we start getting like hardness, and then water just kind of runs off. It doesn't go into the soil. Doesn't feed everything. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Topsoil is vanishing. Topsoil is vanishing. So tell me some more. I know we talked about how the topsoil is vanishing.
Mm-hmm.
What so what is the implication? Like what's the consequence or the result of that, man? Like
Yeah. So what makes the soil so powerful for the rest of the world and life on Earth is the microorganisms that are actually in the soil. So, kind of with the soil vanishing, I was talking about before, according to research out there, we only have about 45 to 60 years of agricultural soil left on the planet. So, in the
mm,
past 30 years, 80% of the world's biomass, which basically means the total weight of all insects, have vanished. And it has a large portion to do with fertilizers, these rodenticides, these herbicides, these fungicides, these pesticides, the glyphosate that we're spraying all over it. These they can't live, and without
mm,
life and without these insects, life on Earth would not be possible without any kind of because they help with the healthy soil. Like the best engineers for soil are actually earthworms because they aerate and drain all the loosened by all the soil because they go down, they travel through it, and it breaks up the soil and it crumbles it up. So earthworms are actually vanishing at a large portion too because of all these toxic chemicals that we're putting on the earth. And what it also what the earthworms do, they bring nutrients to the soil surface, and this increases soil fertility and reduces erosion and flooding. That's why one of the reasons we have a lot of flooding because the soil is just too hard. Nothing gets soaked in the soil.
yeah.
And you got to understand too, like the topsoil is the Earth's digestive system. Whatever you do to the Earth's digestive system is automatically what you're going to do to yours. That's important. That's important to know. And look at all the GI issues that we have going around this world. Like we're an absolute shit show. Or we have so much. And when you start putting all those chemicals on there, you create dysbiosis in the soil, meaning there's a big fluctuation between good and bad bacteria. And when that happens, you create dysbiosis in your gut. That's one of the leading reasons that we have a lot of issues with GI issues because we're putting foods in our butt that have or in our body that have no nutrient value whatsoever. So
Bruh,
mhm.
bruh. This is, as you're saying this, man, this makes me like I was telling Brian, I'm doing some work in my yard
Mhm.
and by my fig tree, and it's very interesting. I'm just noticing as I'm about to say this. I have a fig tree in my backyard, and around the fig tree, it's been very dry. Like this year, like the weeds were freaking bananas, b. Like I had some shit like tentacles, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, like trying to bite up my ankles and stuff. I got all that stuff out. I started tilling the soil, okay, because the soil was really dry. Went to the dumps, got some fresh topsoil, put it over the area, started tilling. Did the same thing the following week. Now, there's no weeds coming out of it. But bruh, it's like, and even as I put a little bit of mulch on there, like I'm noticing the richness of the soil. Yeah. So as you're talking about the aeration, the creepy crawlies, and bless up to the creepy crawlies. Bless up to the creepy crawlies, because like they bring something special too. So I recognize that, because I'm going to end up planting fruits and veggies out there, because I want to practice like my growth techniques when I have land and stuff. Like I want to start practicing, and I'm recognizing it. And you're confirming the importance of nourishing the soil, because dude, even when you talk about the creepy crawlies, before I started putting the topsoil, I didn't see any of those mugs in there because it was so freaking dry. You know what I'm saying, B?
Yeah.
So I think it's important now, like as we're talking about this, and as you all have a better understanding of what's happening with soil, the importance of soil. I think I say soil funny, but whatever. The importance of soil. So everything comes from this. So as different fertilizers and things, like even glyphosate, that is coming up in our food, which I'm circling back to how you were talking about the different diseases, bro. So I'm curious, like with all this and with what we talk about with like how this stuff grows from the earth, what are the things like you recommend or you see as we can be aware of, people can be aware of, as far as, well, shit, how they're purchasing things, right? We talked about organic, but maybe there's another tactic you have. And then also like what they could do if they want to start growing their own food, or they want to start taking things in their own hands. If you have any suggestions, because I got a couple. I just want to check.
I mean, I think kind of dig in it a little bit more. I mean, definitely get some suggestions, but like the main thing I want to get across is you need these microorganisms in your soil for the soil to be beneficial, for the plants that feed off the soil to be beneficial. So 1 gram of soil has over 600 million microorganisms in it. And 1 gram, to give you an idea of what 1 gram is, it's like the size of a penny, right? Damn. And they have tens of thousands of different species and bacteria and fungi in it. So those are like our essential workers, you know? So, you know, like kind of get a little bit into it, like the microorganisms in the soil, they're like, it's the main workforce. They take what we might know as soil minerals and rocks. And we talked about this in a past episode where fungi, they release these chemicals that are super acidic. And what they do is it actually turns the rocks and soils into a liquid form to make them more bioavailable to plants. So most people think that plants, they eat dirt. Yeah. Plants don't eat dirt any more than you and I eat dirt. So like if you would like play Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we would shrink down to such a small, specimen, it's absolutely, and Paul checks this too, and his thing is absolute chaos in the soil. There are thousands of these microorganisms killing each other down there. They're mating, they're doing all this stuff. It's like porn and Rambo all in one, right? And it's funny because a lot of people they don't eat meat because they want to be spiritual or they don't want to harm animals, but they don't realize that plants are being fed by microorganisms, and it's shown through very hardcore research that plants are very carnivorous. So if you're a vegetarian, you're just eating little animals that are fed to you in a liquid form. So, there's no such thing as really going strict vegetarian. We either use small animals with microorganisms, or you eat big animals. So probably a couple of vegetarians out there that are going to watch this are not going to like what I had to say there. But
vegetarians, take that, because you making a brother feel bad about having a piece of chicken, man. You know what, man? Shit, I like chicken. Sorry, go ahead, man.
But if they taught this stuff in school, it would become very clear.
Brother, don't listen. Let's not even get into that school topic because that's a whole other shebang-a-bang. I know there's some schools out there that do the nature education. I wish more schools would do this.
Absolutely. And like one of the biggest things we started this podcast is because people are having all kind of health issues. And our goal was to teach people, whether it be through movement, exercise, nutrition, mental focus, and whatever it is, to watch out for try to figure out what the etiology of these issues are. So we spray all our crops, commercial crops, with fertilizer or Roundup. One of the main ingredients of Roundup is glyphosate, which we did a 2-part episode on this. And that has a direct correlation with cancer, GI issues, methylation issues. If you don't know what methylation is, go back to we did a podcast on methylation. Autism is at an all-time high. It's crazy. They say about year 2030, if I'm not mistaken, 1 out of every 8 kids is going to have some sort of autism.
That's 1 out of 8?
8, 1 out of 8. I think that's what it was. I got to look back at the thing, but definitely like 1 out of something in the single digits, are going to have some kind of, or on pace to do have some kind of autistic issue with them. And that usually starts with the mother ingesting stuff into the system, given it to the kids because of glyphosate. Glyphosate and autism have a strong correlation with each other. And commercially farmed fields, another statistic, commercially farmed fields have about 10% of the microorganisms needed to make the healthy soil, which means 90% of the soil's immune system is gone. 90% of the plant's ability to extract protein from the soil is gone. Wow. 90% of the vitamins that you think you're taking in the minerals and the hormones in them are gone. You can't have good supplements from shit soil. I don't care what you say. You can't. It's impossible. So, you start creating dysbiosis in the soil, like I mentioned before, and that becomes you. So plants, what they do is, like, one of the reasons plants start eating up the fertilizer is because they're basically starving to death. They're becoming beggars, and because they need to now eat something, they'll suck up the fertilizer because they're starving. What they do is they swell up. You have these bright colors, and that's why all these plants look like, they don't even look real. They're like perfect, So they wind up going to that point and just like giving up and just eating everything in sight. But if you put like a genetically modified crop and you put an organic crop and you give it to and you put a bunch of ants around it, the ants will always go to the crop that's natural because ants know better. They know that other thing is shit. Just like if you do with cows, they've done studies before where you spray fertilizer on the grass. None of the cows go over there unless that's the last thing they have to eat. You always go toward the natural. So my thing is, if you're having a lot of issues, it starts with the soil. It starts with eating clean, organic foods, drinking clean water. You have to do that. You have to, and like I hope this kind of opened your eyes a little bit. What Paul and I were talking about. Again, go back to Dirt Facts of Paul Chek, and you can kind of keep going down the rabbit hole. There's a bunch of great books out there, and they don't teach you this stuff in school. They don't want you to know this stuff in school. They want you to think all food is the same, and hey, instead of having this like $4 strawberry or $9 strawberries that are organic, have the $4 ones, because they know if you eat enough $4 ones, you're going to need to go to the doctor and you're going to have to get put on this pill. Then all of a sudden you're a patient. You're just a statistic then. So there's a lot of things out there bashing it. They're saying, hey, listen, organic. There's no difference between organic to conventional food. That's absolute total bullshit.
Oh, crap.
I mean, maybe I'm an anomaly. I mean, I'm 45 years old and I've been on a prescription medication ever since I went pretty much 95% organic, since I had that health scare, which I talked about in a past episode, when I was like 27. Maybe I'm sick. I get a slight cold every once in a while. Then boom, next day I'm totally fine. And I contribute that a lot to my eating, my mentality, and my exercise and everything like that. But it's possible. I'm no better than any you or me or anybody else out there. I just eat the way you're supposed to eat. The word organic didn't exist 200 years ago. You know why? Because everything was organic.
Everything was. There was no listen. It's just it was the status quo, bruh.
Exactly.
It was
You
it.
know?
It was it, bro.
Yeah.
Dude,
So like my thing would be like try to support, if I had a couple takeaways, I would say, I've said this in the past, your best vote is always with your wallet. Go to
wow.
local markets, support the
Words.
farmers, don't buy shit from big corporations like Nestle or Coca-Cola or whatever the fuck else is out there. They're just trash. They don't care about your health. And chances are that organic stuff that they're pushing out there
Bruh, it ain't organic.
is not organic. It is not organic. And there's a lot of research out there that when they've taken organic stuff from these big corporations, they do actually put them in the labs, there's no difference. So be careful what you put your money. Yeah.
Bunch of hoo-ha, man. That's what that is, bro. It's fucked up.
Hoo-ha.
I'm like cursing a lot in this episode, but I don't care. So listen, I just want, yeah, exactly. Damn it. So this is very interesting because like this episode and like everything we covered, I'm happy that we covered it. And I think it's a small and important cog in the overall health and well-being wheel, because I think it's going to require, like, while you said, I hear you say, hey, listen, I'm no different from anyone else. I hear you. And the difference in you and what other people doing is that there's a consistency in an amount of research. Like, I know for you to make that decision, like it took you research to really figure out, like, I know that's when we started talking about the metabolic typing diet. So what is your type, right? Because it's all a part of the whole scheme and game. And I bring up about the research because, listen, if you're really looking to go organic, my suggestion is go out to some farms, see how they're doing this. And I'm not talking about the corporate farms. I'm talking if you go to a farmer's market, you get some produce. You're like, yo, I like your apples taste great. I had some beets. They were delicious. You mind if I come out to your space and just see what's going on? They're gonna welcome you. They're gonna welcome you because to them, it's a labor of love. Like, I know my mom, when she was alive, she loved to garden. And I swear to goodness, her gardens were always, she would produce some like banana stuff. Like her sunflowers would be like 9 feet and shit. They'd be hanging over this big ass head. Her freaking tomatoes were like this, like dense, and just like the cucumbers, everything, flowers. And I remember with her, like, she would even take my old supplements and she would crush them up into a bowl, and then she put them in with some soil, and then she had her compost, and then she put it and mix it with the thing. And I'm like, damn, Ma, you doing too much. And she's like, Pa, it's about the soil, you see? But I speak this because if we start to nourish and pay attention to the environment that our foods are growing in, we'll begin to make change. You're going to want to make change because you're going to see this stuff. And even though it's small, like they'll say like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Right. In one isolated incident. But let's talk about this. Are we really ever eating like some shit food in an isolated incident? Most likely not.
Yeah.
So this is damaging us. And again, Brian, but the thing that I'm taking away is like we're losing a lot of our topsoil. And I think that's a problem because like there's so many organisms that go into the soil that contribute to our health. When you were talking about that, B, I was thinking about the gut and the gut biomes, like making sure there's certain things as above, so below, right?
100%. I was about to say that. Like our soil is our gut. You can't have shit soil. You can't have shit soil, eat that food and expect a healthy gut. It's impossible. They go hand in hand, And it's like another thing, like you said before, it's like, or we talked about before, it's like I have this conversation with a lot of my clients and it drives me nuts sometimes. Like they don't eat organic because they think it's expensive. It's more expensive. Yes, per pound, it's more expensive. But then when I do a consultation and I'm like, are you taking these supplements? Oh, yeah. I take this, I take this, I take this, I take this. I'm like, you can never out supplement a diet. We talked about this in a past episode. Your supplements are for supplementation. It's not for your nutrition. It plays about a 3 to 5% role in your health only if your nutrition is on point. Only if your nutrition is on point. It's thinking of it like nutrition is your foundation. I forgot whether it was like it was an analogy where they had like a boat and the wood on the boat was just like all broken apart and everything like this. And that was that was like to show that's an average American's nutrition. But then they had like golden nails in it, trying to hold the shit wood together, and the golden nails were the supplement. You're still gonna sink, you know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The foundation has got to be there, you know. And if you just stop taking the supplements and you start putting more organic food in your body, that's gonna tenfold the supplements that you're trying to make up for the shit nutrition in your body. And people don't realize, like, something organic has the nutrient value of like probably 90%, 80 to 90% of the nutrients that are in something that is non-organic. So if you go out and you buy, like, you know, say it takes you 2 or 3 chicken breasts to feel full for a conventional chicken, you need 1 chicken breast organic and you got the same thing in there. You got all the nutrients in there. So a lot of people that eat organic, they can't finish their meals. They have the same portion as before. So again, you're gonna eat less because it's more nutrient dense, and you just get rid of all those shit supplements that you're taking to begin with that are not doing anything. You can't out supplement a shit diet.
Nope. Words to live by. Words to live by. Listen, bro, ever since you said that, I'm like, yo, man, I better get on my game and get my shit right. Because bro, that's one of the reasons why I am doing the yard outside and like starting to create my own food, because I want to be like, yo, I know where this comes from, baby. I know where this comes from. And listen, dude, we didn't even get to talk about this, but I think it's interesting because even like the agricultural like industry, like there's not that many farmers anymore, man. It's like a corporate type thing, you know?
Well, like farmers, you're like, you know what it is? They I don't want to misquote anything, but like they were like one of the highest occupations for suicide rates, you know, for a long time. Yeah, because like these companies are coming over and they're undercutting them and they can't support themselves. So I don't know all the logistics behind it, but at one point they were like one of the leading causes or leading occupations as far as suicide. They were so stressed out. So it's another reason to go support the local farmers. I mean, these guys, man, they work their fucking ass off, man. Waking up before the sun gets up, and they're out there busting their ass, plowing, doing all this shit, and like I can't think off the top of my head a harder job. You know, like,
is there? I don't know.
I'm not going to say there is. You know,
I know. It's like shit, B.
Yeah, without farmers, like our world wouldn't be where it is. And another thing too, which is like people are like, oh, like farming, you know, we need genetically modified crops because farming is we can't support everyone by farming. And that is such bullshit, man. If you look at research on like, especially how the Chinese do it, they can produce more. They know how to farm. And from what I've read a couple books before that say that like Americans don't really understand the foundationals of how to farm, how to do their soil, how to rotate their crops, what to do with all this stuff. And the Chinese people, they can make so much more food in a smaller area that if we adopted their methods, we could feed the world 10x, you know, maybe not 10x, but you know what I mean? It wouldn't be a problem.
I know what you're talking about, bro. Like, listen, I got my inspiration from Ikigai. When however you pronounce it, when they were like looking at when they went to the Asian blue zones, all these cats were growing their own food.
Yes.
They were growing, bro. That's the shit that, because I'm gonna live to 108, right? So I'm like,
I'm there with you, man.
Yo, let's go, man. And I want to have my capacities. I don't want to have like a diaper and someone wiping my doo-doo, man. I want to be able to do that for myself.
I'm not wiping your ass at that age, man. You're on your own.
Listen, man. Yeah, listen. I just look.
I mean, we're close, but you know.
Yeah, look, man.
Draw a line there, buddy.
At 108, I have enough mobility. I can still squat down and poop in a freaking hole back there. Use that as fertilizer. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying, like, listen, I think it's important, man. And as we wrap up, like you see, like we're talking about all these different things that have to do with soil farming. My invitation for you all, as we put out here like these different gems for awareness, so you can make the choice. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments. If there's other facts that we failed to mention that you're aware of, put it in the comments. If you like what we're talking about and you think it could be beneficial to other people in your circle, share this video, like, subscribe. We have stuff coming out every Wednesday. Plus, we got shorts out there right now. So there's a lot of knowledge that's being shared, and we're here for you. Okay. So we're here for you. We want you to be there for yourself. So B, any last words before we wrap this piece up about the soil?
Go to we'll put the link in there for Dirt Facts for Paul Check. Great. If you got like an hour, listen in the car, it'll change your mind. If you have friends that are into nutrition, chances are they don't understand the correlation between soil and nutrition. This will be a good foundation for them, whether you listen to this one or you deep dive into another video, whatever like that. But just understand nutrition. That's where it starts. Where you understand the soil. That's where it starts.
Bless up. B, always with the goodness. And we're going to leave with the song. So we're going to say, spirits of the soil, we sing for you. We sing for you. Spirits of the soil, we sing for you in love and gratitude. Bless up to the soil. Bless up to you, B. You know, bro, it's always a pleasure rocking with you, right? You know that, right?
Love it, man. Peace.
Right. Peace, everybody.